Good afternoon again. I'm going to talk on hitting the refractive target in extreme corneal and axial profiles. I have subdivided the topic into a few points. The first is the IOL power in corneal ectasia. This is the new challenge ophthalmologists are facing, and it includes variety of cases: keratoconus without procedure, post-LASIK ectasia without any procedure, keratoglobus, PMD. What are the challenges? Getting the K reading consistently is not all that easy. AP ratio is altered. We get a false deep ACD, and therefore ELP prediction becomes difficult. And prior refractive surgery in intakes, we don't know whether it complicates the matter or simplifies. So first point is decide about the toricity. If the central 3 millimeter of the topo shows regular astigmatism, we can safely go ahead with the toric IOL. And the aim is debulking the astigmatism. Of course, we have to get repeatable K readings from at least 2 machines. Now, previously we have been classifying keratoconus or ectasia according to mainly topography. But now we have got different classification, and one of the which I find best is Retics classification, because it's kind of holistic. It includes visual acuity, K reading, astigmatism, coma, as well as Q value. And just to give an example, this is a patient we had of keratoconus with a CDVA of 0.98 and a cylinder of -4. So whether okay kind of a topography. So we decided to go straight ahead with the calculation for cataract surgery. And we use regression formula with EKR 4.5. Of course, we can also use Barrett-Truquet TK with SSOCT, ray tracing, not much experience. Now, then comes the second. Okay, now there is a paper published which says that in Barrett-Truquet, we better go by measured PCA rather than the estimated. And that is further enhanced by the fact that when we use Barrett-Truquet TK, that is total keratometry, the number of patients who are within plus or minus 0.5 of emmetropia went up by whopping 12%, which is a very big percentage. Then we go to the second category, that is the moderate keratoconus, where then there is a two-step approach. Number one, we have to do something to smoothing the cornea, either by topo-guided PRK or by Intacs, and then go by the way we went for the first grade of cornea. And the last, okay, and there is a new concept of CEOZ, that is central effective optical zone, which has been used previously for calculations while doing RK. So we have to select a visual axis, actually map it out on the depending upon various factors, including visual axis, an average of 12 points on the 2.7 or 3 millimeter circle, basically to find out the central corneal power. And then the third, when the keratoconus is quite severe or advanced, there are 3 scenarios here. Patient is happy with poor vision, undiagnosed keratoconus, put a monofocal IOL and leave him alone. Contact lens happy patient, don't try to fix which does not require fixing. So again, go for monofocal IOL and contact lens. And third is safety. When you are really not sure about the calculations, again go take a conservative approach. So the take home message is that we better to use Retics classification, decide toricity first, and depending upon the type of ectasia, mild, straight away go for calculations, moderate, smoothing procedure, and severe conservative approach. The second part of the topic is IOL power calculation post refractive surgery. Sources of error, I'm not going to go into the detail, and same about the older methods. Let us talk about the newer methods, that is EKR, Higis-L, Barrett-Truquet TK, and SSOCT. Higis-L is the first kind of formula we got ready-made, where it uses the central intermediate corneal power and uses some regression analysis differently in hyperopic and differently in myopic LASIK to find out what K to use in Higis formula, and gives us a IOL power. So it was quite accurate. And then EKR I'll come to shortly, and the other two also I'll come to shortly. You know very well that Barrett-Truquet and Barrett-Truquet TK We don't know how they work, but they are really very good. Then there is aura intraoperative corneal power calculation. Let us skip this because I feel that it is in the nascent stage. Now, EKR or the holiday report, which is a part of the pentacam. Okay, it is a EKR stands for equivalent K readings. Most of us know by now, and this is the holiday report, which comes very exhaustive and is one of the finest tools. In the middle upper panel, you get the EKR, that is equivalent K reading. Now, what is EKR? When we use the regression formulae, we could not, we had to use a corneal refractive index of 1.3375, which is not actually correct, but as a method of compromise, we had to use. Now, when we have got all the corneal ratios and things altered, we cannot use that. And therefore, what reading we get, corneal power, that has to be converted so that it can be used in the regression formula, which use corneal refractive index of 1.3375. And these converted readings are called as EKR. So holiday report has made it very simple for us. And why 4.5? Because this correlates best with the central corneal power. So you get a topography here, and then the pachymetry, and then the elevation. So whatever you require, everything is there on the single screen, and it's a very, very useful tool, as I already said. For toricity, of course, we look at the axial or the sagittal curvature. So use it for any abnormal cornea, post PKP, post refractive surgery, ectasia, corneal scar, irregular astigmatism. Now, this is an example of the EKR report of a normal patient. You can see a single spike. So very good case because patient has a very single power at the center. When it goes to LASIK, it is slightly not as good as the normal spike, but still acceptable. But look at RK. There is a dioptric change of 13 diopters across the pupil size. And that is why calculations in radial keratotomy are difficult. So conclusion, use EKR 65 or 4.5 mm report only if the pupil is small, you go for different diameter. This is a case of post-LASIK case at our hospital, EKR. Then similarly, a PMD case. Then what about newer machines and newer formulae? So Ionmaster 700 is the first came with a very new technology whereby anterior cornea is measured by the telecentric keratometry, which is modification of the traditional method. And the posterior cornea was actually measured by SSOCT. And it chooses the right kind of refractive index for the right kind of formula. And then we have new kid on the block, MS39. It's a combination of Placido plus SSOCT. Anterior cornea is measured by Placido as well as SSOCT because we know that Placido has a blind spot in the center. And posterior SSOCT also checks posterior cornea, ACD, lens technology, lens thickness. It is a ray tracing technology, but which formula it uses, we do not know. Again, it is a very useful tool. Since installation, I have not had a chance to use on any patients, but this is how the printout looks like. Now, let us look at the efficacy of the various formulae post-LASIK. We can see that almost all of them are, in a tight range, but even then, Barrett-Truquet appears to be better. So the best practices is calculate oil power by multiple methods, take average, but bias towards Barrett-Truquet and aim for undercorrection. These are the website where all the calculators are available. On ASCRS, you go choose which procedure has been done before. And this is the form. It is very important to read the instructions at the bottom and fill in as many details as possible. Form for RK, Barrett-Truquet, I need not explain. We have gone through all this many times and they all work very well. Now, as an example, 43-year-old male patient came for cataract, undergone LASIK in 2001. Okay, and this was the ASCRS printout. And then you can see Barrett-Truquet and TK both suggesting 17.5 ultrasonic IQ. SOEM was implanted, patient was 6'9". Okay, so as far as myopic LASIK is concerned, we are bang on target, but not so with RK. Because it has the hyperopic drift, it has undergone over the years, and the post-surgery, the cuts undergo edema, and there is a hyperopic, temporary hyperopic shift. Very low K, out of bounds for many machines and many calculators, and then you have to go rely on contact lens method. We have to aim for slight myopia. Best practices is go to ASCRS, which uses the Aramberry double K method and Barrett online calculators, and choose the average. Now, it is very important to examine the patient on slit lamp and understand the risk factors where you can go horribly wrong, or probably horrible is not a correct word, very badly wrong of the target. So these risk factors are when the patient has got more than 16 cuts, 16 or more, optical zone of less than 3 millimeters, RK cuts going all the way up to the limbus, when there is a astigmatic keratomy crossing of incisions, irregular astigmatism on the central part of the topography, and unstable tear film, which is almost always the case. And this I already explained that some equipments do not accept low K readings, and therefore we have to be very well prepared for the second surgery. Sometimes the RK cuts open during surgery and the astigmatism management goes for a toss. So the previous approach was leave behind hyperopia and then do PRK, so that for hyperopic PRK, we'll be shifting the K readings from 29, let's say, from to 34, which will improve the quality of vision. But the problem is that because RK cuts can, have a leakage of mitomycin C into the anterior chamber, we cannot use mitomycin C, and there are very, very high chances of regression. So the best method today is a secondary polypseudophakia or the PVA lenses. Now, post-RK, if you see, again, the various formulae, they show that they are very tight in prediction. But in reality, this is not the case. It really goes haywire. So sometimes you have to go really back to basics. That means using an algorithm. That is, calculate IOL power as if it is a virgin eye. And for 4 to 6 cut RK, you add 1.5 to the IOL power. 8 cut RK, you add 2. And more than 8 cuts, you add more. Now, this is one example of an 8 cut RK. Patient had a refraction of RK undergone in 1998. The refraction we had done on 16 February 2021. Patient had 7.5 and 8.5 spherical plus with a -2 cylinder. Now you can see the IOL powers are going helter-skelter. Okay, there is a wide range across which the IOL power has been suggested, but Barrett-Truque suggested 32.1 in the right hand, 34.95 in the left hand. And same was suggested by, okay, so we patient wanted panoptics. Patient was consulted for second surgery, and the IOL power put in was 30 diopter panoptics because that was the highest available. And in the right eye, patient is left with 3.75 cylinder and the left eye sphere. So in the right eye, we have gone wrong on cylinder, and in the left eye, we have gone wrong on sphere. So this is what happens, that you do not know exactly where we are going, and it is better to counsel the patient for the second surgery. When it comes to toric IOL post-refractive surgery, Barrett-Truque or Barrett-Truque-TK, toric, there is nothing else, period. The discussion is over. It works the best. Barrett-Truque toric. Then this is a case of PKP. Again, the same way we can calculate, and corneal scar. Then we go to the next subtopic, is IOL power calculation in extreme myopia. There are two challenges here. The vitreous body is long, and therefore it overestimates the axial length, and that's why we have to use Wavikar adjustment in the traditional formula. Second problem is posterior staphyloma. Fovea is lying on the slope, and we do not want anatomical axial length. We want functional axial length. That means the corneal apex and the fovea, the line connecting that, the distance between them. And the solution is optical biometry with visualization of the optic pit. Now, best practices use Barrett Universal 2 and Hill RBF for calculations. Both do not require Wavikar adjustment. I would like to mention something about Barrett Universal 2. Why the word universal? Minus power lenses, they have thick edges and thin in the center, and they sit differently in the eye as compared to normal lenses, and they behave differently. So Barrett did a very smart thing, that he did optimization for this particular sector of IOL powers, and that is why the formula is called truly like universal power calculator Barrett's. And whenever only you are out of bounds, you can use all these older formulae with Bangkok modification and always aim for myopia. Now, this is a very interesting slide which tells us about efficacy of various formulae, the latest formulae in percentage, where we have hit a target of less plus or minus 0.5. So when you talk about entire range, you can see that all are above 80. Short eyes, we come down, but all are above 70. And long eyes, again, all go below 80, above 80. Ultra long eyes, I did not get the percentage, but EVO stands to rank number 1, and Barrett University stands to rank number 2. Okay, this is like surmise of various papers I have read. So what it tells us that ultimately we have to calculate by multiple choices and go for the average with bias towards Barrett. Now this is one case, minus 18 diopters in the right eye and minus 16 diopters in the left eye. IOL power suggested was 5 diopters by Hill RBF and universal to Barrett. And we implanted 5 diopter lens, and patient was with the desired result. More myopia in the right eye and less myopia in the left eye, but with a little bit of cylinder. Then we go to hyperopia. The challenges are different in very short eyes. I'm talking only about IOL power calculation. The natural lens is thicker, but other dimensions are smaller, and very small change in any dimension will give you drastic change in the IOL power. So we have to be very precise about measurements. Similarly, the high D lenses are thick, and the calculation algorithms are based on infinitely thin lenses, and therefore we have to be careful again about the calculations. For an example, if there is a 1 millimeter error in the AC depth, in myope we will be off target by 1 diopters, but in hypermetrope or short eyes we will be off target by 2.5 diopters. Again, we come to the same table which I showed before. That is the reason why you see in short eyes the accuracy percentage has dropped down by almost 10. This is an example of hyperopia, bilaterally amblyopic patient. It was actually a case of prelax. Patient was very concerned very well that there will be not much improvement in vision, but he was very keen on surgery. And again, different type of lenses suggested. If you go by average, the average came to 32.5. But patient wanted acrylisa tree, trifocal, and 32 was the available one without any extra premium. So we went ahead with that, and patient was bang on target. Now the last topic of the day, the primary polypseudophakia. Sometimes we get a situation that one lens is not enough to put in the eye, and you require 2 lenses to support to get to emmetropia. So this is Dr. Warren Hill has divided this into a very simple topic, that there are only 6 steps. Number 1, get an accurate axial length estimation. Second, to find out the total IOL power required. And third, find out the deficiency by the lowest number of IOL available in the particular category you want to implant. And then there is a fourth is simple table for conversion of the remaining diopter, how much to use. And we can also use refractive divergence formula. And point number 6, choosing the correct IOL. That means acrylic lens goes in the bag and silicone lens sits in the sulcus. And this is the table. It is very well available on Dr. Warren Hill's website. And the last is the paper which talks in great detail about Vergence formula. It's a very nice and path-breaking paper. Thank you very much.
Shekhar,